Wow. JD Vance in Byron, Michigan. I finally listened to the rally speech, and what can I say? Angela Regis, state representative, had a chance to meet him. She's like a sister to me. We go way, way back, old GOP Tea Party days. She spoke really highly of him, spoke very favorably of him. Again, JD Vance in Byron, Michigan at Cordis Trucking Company. And let's just say I like and I really appreciate and I love when companies, small businesses, host conservative or any type of Republican events, because for too long in corporate America, things have went far, far left. Leftist literally seemingly has co-opted, infiltrated, and just it seems like corporate America is dominated by liberal policies. And so you don't always have a lot of support from any type of industry, business. And it's unfortunate. Although we know there are plenty of GOP, Republican, conservative type companies that rely on conservative Republican policies, obviously, but a lot of Fortune 500 companies, they're not necessarily on that list. In fact, I think I heard a study from a local activist who stated that he thought some of the Fortune 500 CEOs was for Trump, and then he said he had to correct himself. He found out he was wrong. He said he found out none of the Fortune 500 CEOs are for Trump. And, I don't know how necessarily true that is, but it definitely, I think, resonates to have some level of truth because I've worked in corporate America, and let's just say you face a lot of discriminatory type of behavior when you are Republican or conservative. You can't really be open about your beliefs or how you feel, or things are pretty marginalized. So to have any type of small business and companies host the vice president nominee is important. I think John James held something not too long ago, actually Trump, when he came to Michigan previously at a non-union company. Because a lot of times unions also have a part to play in that. Their policies is typically not GOP or Republican, unfortunately. And that's typically like the main leadership, not necessarily the members, but, they typically will not support Republicans. And so that dominates business, commerce, industry. And I'm totally against that part. But JD Vance in Byron, Michigan, Cordis Trucking Company. It was a great, inspiring speech. In fact, I learned some things about JD Vance I didn't know. Like, he comes from like a country gangster background, like the Hillbillyology book and movie. I gotta go watch that. You know what I'm saying? So far from what I've seen, a lot of it seems very factual based on people I've met and encountered in real life. Them rural areas, man, got some deep drug problems, man. So it kind of gave me like a 8 Mile type vibe. A lot of times people get the Midwest and Michigan and places like Ohio mixed up. They don't understand our white people get down. You know what I'm saying? They not like a lot of white people from a lot of other places. This guy JD Vance, not necessarily who he is now, the politician and etc. But when you look at his upbringing, he's kind of like a Eminem type vibe. You get that. You know what I'm saying? Like a 8 Mile, like a country vibe of Eminem. Like if Eminem was a country person, like from his upbringing. Yeah, seems like he's had a lot of issues, with his mom, from drug use, from his mother, or, different family members, to, staying with his grandmother. Just a lot of different things. He seems to have more of a realistic upbringing compared to a lot of these politicians who just, born with silver spoons in their mouth, elitist, nepotism, etc. That doesn't seem to be JD Vance's story. And I think that's an important start because, I'm from an era where I don't care if it's a rapper, politician, I got to be able to resonate with your real life. So shout out to him and his wife, who went out to the market in Grand Rapids and met with voters. That's the type of vibe at least I need, and I liked and I appreciate to see those type of encounters. It just lets you know they're real people, not perfect people, but they're real people. I like dealing with real people. So it's just a lot of positive things when it comes to that. and I would say impactful things when you're running the type of campaign that they have to run. And it's pure policy with JD Vance. But basically, at the rally in Byron, Michigan, he made some valid points. I mean, he said that Kamala Harris turned the Border Patrol into a travel agency for illegal immigrants. Man, that was a statement. Kamala Harris turned the Border Patrol into a travel agency, is what he said. I mean, that's a tough blow. I mean, that's serious. That's a good punchline. You know what I'm saying? And just from what I'm seeing and hearing, this race is all about policy. I don't think, in fact, when I look at JD Vance, I'm almost more. I see the Trump in him. He's like, to me, between the governor of Florida and, former President Trump. JD Vance is like a mixture of those two, but he's from the Midwest, so he has like a lingo or a slang, or he comes from a background I can recognize and see because I've grew up in the Midwest. From Michigan, but Ohio, I've traveled there, I've stayed, I've worked there, and so I can understand certain things about him. So I'm definitely supporting him, and I definitely think he's the strongest candidate. But I think he's almost better, if not could be more effective, or just as effective as Trump. And that's a huge compliment. When you're talking policy, leadership, just those strong morals and ethics, and he'll take risks. He's a strong person. When you come from the type of background like even myself, where you've had to pull your own self up so much, you don't really follow the bandwagon, so to speak. You don't really take orders. You're not just a follower type. I mean, you have a real leadership style. You have a real leadership orientation about yourself. And a lot of the politicians that I've seen, they don't. And many of them are followers. They're not tough people. Trump has criticized politicians for that same reason, and even admitted to using them, and for that same reason, because they're not strong people. But most importantly, just politicians typically, it's more about a system, and if you know how to take advantage of the system, well, obviously we will be taking advantage of. And right now, illegal immigrants and China and cartels and just everybody seems to be taking advantage of the system right now, and it's hurting Americans. But what I got from the Byron, Michigan quarter speech and rally was that he is pumped up and he's going in the right direction with policy. He's making the right connections. This race is not only just about policy, and this is really, but it's more about how can we get average Americans to comprehend those policies. How can we get the average voter to recognize why the pros and cons of policy, or the negative attributes, or the more so bad policy, policies, the different effects or certain decision making that will hurt your wallet. What helped contributed to inflation in a practical way. I mean, I've taken economic courses. I'm a policy guy, so I can kind of get inspired by JD Vance from his upbringing and understanding where he's coming from, and the type of policies that I could take advantage of with my family in the future. But the average voter, they don't really, they haven't taken a lot of economics. They don't probably know a lot about policy. So we're going to have to dumb this thing down, but still keep the substance of policy and help average people understand what's really going on. And I think he did a good job. An example, he talked about how energy was affected and a lot of other policy and regulatory issues that cause inflation to go up. And he seemed to explain it pretty good where the average voter could understand it. So I give JD Vance a big plus for that. But he just seems to be a straight shooter. He seems to be someone very pro Second Amendment. So I got to say shout out on that aspect. And he comes from a culture of Second Amendment, from where he comes from. So, and I didn't know so much about his upbringing, his grandmother, because I was raised by my grandmother and she was a pistol. I mean, she had a pretty tough mouth on her. So I definitely resonate with that. But yeah, so I don't know. I think JD Vance and Byron, Michigan did a really good job. Every time you see more and more, they're setting up the momentum in this building, and they're gonna have some breakout straight runs. I'm being honest. I'm not saying they're impenetrable, but I do not see the Kamala Harris ticket standing up to them. I don't care if they got Obama on the trail. I don't see them being able to go toe to toe with them. Nope. They know, and then these guys are answering questions from the media afterwards. Every single campaign, every press conference, they're accepting questions from media. You don't see the other side doing that. And if they did, come on, what would be the real answers? How could these come on now? Kamala Harris, Biden, and this other guy, Tim Walz, they're not it. I'm sorry, they're not it. I know I don't make that determination overall at the end of the day, but anybody that's really seriously trying to consider them, something's wrong with you. You're too much on the partisan political tip. Like honestly, like at some point, Americans got to put America first. We do. We got to put America in our own interests first, man. Everybody is taking advantage, except for the American people. We don't get the benefit of a lot, and it speaks volumes to our leadership, the policies that shape our system, and it's tough to admit how challenging things are. I really appreciate every single time JD Vance is making fentanyl the forefront of the issues, because we've lost so many people. I got tons of obituaries, people meeting people every day that's affected by fentanyl every single day, from women who are just strung out, shooting up. I meet everybody. I meet it all. I meet all type of people, and it's just it's sad that we've come to where we've come, and we got even worse things coming down the pipeline. You got trank type drugs coming out here. You got other type of MDMA, real harsh drugs from China. We need good leadership. So again, I said this in a previous video about JD Vance when he went to the Shelby Township Police Department. That was a great press conference. I said, if you're going to do a press conference, it should be like that. I think he had Pete Lucido, the prosecuting attorney, in a video as well. I appreciated that press conference, and I think he did a very good job in Byron, Michigan, at the Cordes Trucking Company. I think JD Vance is a policy guy. Policy. So, this is not, don't get caught up in his personality. Don't get caught up. And again, I think he has a far better of a gentleman in personality, and his nice individual compared to the governor of Florida. I mean, it's totally different vibes. Okay. He has a real Midwest vibe. He's like a Michigander. Ohio and Michigan is like the same in a lot of aspects. So, I don't really take too much of an issue with, JD Vance's personality or anything. I think he's normal. I don't look at him any other type of way. This is a person who's worked in big tech. Obviously, he's smart. But his story is more impressive when you see how he grew up, all the different transitions. See, I understand that. I've transitioned to things where people wonder, they call you things like chameleon and this and that, and they make these things because they don't understand transformation is real for individuals like myself and JD Vance. We've had to go through multiple areas of life and challenge ourselves and reinvent ourselves and redevelop ourselves, because we don't have a choice. That's just that's how life presented itself to us, and we grabbed the bull by the horns and we made it happen. So I understand his story, his book, his movie. I would say I highly recommend you see it. Go look at it. Again, focus on policies. Black people, white people, brown people. Focus on the policies. Research the policies. I don't want to hear nothing about symbolism. We ain't on symbolism no more. We ain't tap dancing for nobody. The black vote needs to go out, and it's going to go out to the best candidate with the best policies for our communities. Okay, period. For our HBCUs, for economics, we need to have energy prices super low. I mean, we need to drive inflation to into the ground. I mean, I'm dead serious. I want to see some 90 something cent gas prices again like I had with Trump. People think I make that up. I have a picture. I kept it. I got gas for 94 cents for the first time in my life when Trump was in office. I ain't kidding. Now I wasn't always like that, but it was pretty much within that a dollar something. I mean, you could always get gas for a dollar something easy when Trump was in office. Two something was like nothing. Okay, so yeah, JD Vance, Byron, Michigan. I like this speech. I think he's hitting the ground running. He's going to get some kickback. The media is going to do what they do, but they don't even hold their own candidate to that same level of scrutiny. They're letting Kamala Harris just get a blanket check to just do what she wants to do. They don't, hold her accountable, put her feet to the fire. And obviously, that's typical left-wing, double standard type hypocritical stuff that they do. There's nothing new. Shouldn't surprise us. But I'm impressed with JD Vance. In fact, I'm not just impressed. I'm motivated by him, and that from his policies that should tell you something. I think I have a good direction on where he's trying to take things, and I like that. I like that. I want to be a part of that transformation. We need it. We need it bad. There's too much death and destruction out here. We need some realness. All right. But again, this is not about identity politics. I would have loved to see a candidate that is even more closer to me, how I look, where I come from. But I got to take what I got. And right now, Kamala Harris and them ain't even an option. Because again, this is true. Instead of saying about what she could do and what she's going to do, she could do it now. She's been the vice president. She's running basically as president, running a country now with Biden out of the race. Yeah, I guess Biden is still the president, but like in reality, they could do much more. Okay, so leave you with that. JD Vance, Byron, Michigan. I'll say it was a home run.